and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Illustrator by Eduonics Technologies. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about the paragraph panel and paragraph format in general. It's going to be some pretty basic stuff. I might go into this a little later in a different video, but for now, we're just going to cover the basics. So let's take a look at the paragraph panel really quick. Usually you're going to find it right next to the character panel, but if you don't see it, you can go up to Window and down to Type, and all of your type panels are going to be in here. So for right now, we're going to click on Paragraph. Right now it's set to align left. I'm sure you're probably already familiar with most of these, but I'll scroll through them and you can see how the font changes. Also pay attention to this anchor point because it'll change according to what formatting you select for paragraph. And the anchor point is important because that's what you're going to be using to snap this into things. So when I change it to center, of course, it centers everything, and the anchor point is centered as well on the top line. When I change it to right justification or align right, it does pretty much what you'd expect. And then you have your justify options. For this, I'm going to need a little bit more type. And with line type, I want to show you, as you're typing something, you go to the next line. This operates just like two lines of text. If you double click on this one, you get one line. If you double click on the other one, you get the other. You can't separate them because it's all part of the same paragraph. I encourage you to use text boxes whenever you can. However, for a short, quick solution or for just like a header, you can do it like this. It works just fine. That being said, let's take a text box. And I'm going to copy this and just paste it in here. Using my text tool to bring up the area type option. I want to paste it a bunch of times so I can show you the justify options in paragraph. People use these to achieve a very clean design, although it's debated on whether or not you should use it because it affects readability. When I click justify, as you can see, it spaces words out to fill the shape. The problem with this is, let's say my words were a little bit more natural, I just copied and pasted the same thing over and over again. If you have not a lot of stuff, not a lot of characters in one line, like this one for example, it puts a lot of space in. If you have a bunch of characters in a line, it doesn't put that much space in. So while this can create a very pleasing appearance, it's recommended not to use it whenever possible because it creates a lot of awkward spacing, and when you're reading, that creates an uneven flow, and it slows down pretty much the amount that people can read the document, and it also kind of annoys people sometimes. But for small amounts of text, and when it doesn't affect spacing that much, for instance, if I bring this in a little bit, you can see it already looks a lot better. So you can work with it. So long as it turns out looking good, go ahead and use justify. It's pretty handy, and it is good for the overall design if it doesn't detract from the readability. Now, something that's not specific to Illustrator, is pretty much for any type program, but I thought I'd cover it real quick, is the use of glyphs. We're accustomed to the normal keys on the keyboard, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the punctuation, exclamation marks, plus signs, hyphens, that kind of thing, but there's a number of other characters that are typically not accessible that you might want to use. For instance, a copyright symbol, a star, and various other shapes that are built into most fonts. Now for most of these symbols, it's an Alt and number pad combination. If I press Alt and then I press a combination on the number pad, it creates, in this case, it's either a pound or a euro, I don't know, I'm from the US. And there's a number of these symbols. I'm not going to go into them all, but if you just do a quick search for Alt num combinations, you're going to get a whole list of them, and you don't even have to memorize them. You can just copy the actual character, because that's what it is. It's not a shape, it's a character. You can copy it, you can paste it right into your document. So now I'm going to explain the fundamental differences between the two types of fonts that you can have. And there are more types, but these are the two ones you're going to encounter the most. There's true type and there's open type. Basically, the difference is that true type was invented and implemented as the standard type, and it's scalable like any other type, meaning that it's not a pixel raster-based type like some of the first ones. It's fully scalable. However, the only difference between true type and open type is that open type includes a lot more glyphs. And to get into the glyphs, to take a look, we'll just go up to type and down to glyphs. As you can see, there's a lot of different kinds of characters that are not accessible typically. Most of these deal with foreign languages and typing in basically other languages and other units of currency, things that are specialized for different keyboards. But you actually have a lot of things you can type out. So once again, these are all characters, none of these are shapes. And when I say the difference between a character and a shape, I'm referring to a shape being an expanded piece of type. For instance, when you go to type and you hit expand, as you can imagine, it creates outlines. That's object expand. It outlines the type, turns it into individual shapes, which is pretty much what expand does for everything. And so when I say a character, I'm referring to it in its type mode, a copyable glyph. As you can see in the glyphs panel, as I'm highlighting these, it's highlighting them over here. You can change it by double-clicking on the glyphs panel. It'll add a glyph into the actual type. So if you don't know the particular alt code combination, just open up your glyphs panel and double-click while you're in your type tool, while you have your cursor up, and just enter in whatever you want. You'll find that a lot of fonts have a lot of cool stuff embedded in them if you look close enough. One of the last things to go into, and I'm only just going to touch it lightly, would be character styles, paragraph styles. There's actually a whole lot of options associated with these, although you can't tell from the panel. If you go up to Window, down to Type, you can open up your character styles and your paragraph styles. And just the basics of it is that if you click on a character style, it's going to copy all of the aspects of the character. Click New Character Style with some type selected, and it's going to memorize that. So if I were to click on this type up here, click the character style, it'll apply that to it. And that's going to apply pretty much most of these settings. The paragraph style is a little bit more complicated. But like I said, we're going to be getting into all of that in more advanced videos as we continue on. So just look out for those, and thanks for watching.